Hello, Stampers. Don't know if anybody has joined yet or if you're waiting. I'm running a little bit late today. I had a doctor's appointment this morning and it was supposed to be at 11:40 and I didn't leave the doctor's office until 12:45. So it was supposed to be, like a 15-minute appointment. So I feel like I'm kind of running and trying to catch up here and get everything sorted. And in a moment, let's see, I'm just trying to think if there's anything. I guess I'll introduce myself for anybody who's new here. I'm Amanda Mertz and I am Did You Stamp Today? So on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you can find me just by searching Did You Stamp Today, and you'll get all sorts of projects and just see what I've been working on lately. And I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so if you do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be happy to be that person for you. Just reach out if you have any questions or find my website. Everything is linked in my About on Facebook, and then also in the information pages on YouTube. I think we're good to start here. I'm gonna flip around the camera. Let's see. Hopefully I can get it straightened out. Every week I seem to struggle a little bit getting things lined up and make sure that it's close enough for y'all to see what I'm doing. All right, I'm gonna put this in. We are using the Gathering Together suite today, which is a whole host of products. There's the stamp set and a die set, and there's a whole package of Designer Series paper. There are little sparkly Cajun Craze gems, and there's twine. We are using the paper today, the stamp and die set, and the gems to make our card. And then I'm going to throw in a few other products to just kind of round it out and to make the design. And I wanted to show you my design today is based on, I was just kind of paging through the newly released September through December mini catalog, and I was just trying to get some ideas and just see how they use stuff. And I really liked this layout right here, and I thought that was kind of a fun layout, but I don't have that set. I don't have the images, but I was like, I think this would be a great one to use for fall. So I'm gonna recreate this layout from page 21 in the catalog and make it a fall card. So let's get started. Slide this stuff over and pull out all of my supplies. What I've got here. All right, we are going to be using a Cajun Craze base. Let me get that. Like I said, I'm really not prepared. I was running late and I was so hungry. When I got home, I had to eat some lunch. I had to eat something or my stomach would have been growling so loud you would have been able to hear it over the microphone. So that's going to be it's a pecan pie. What did I call it? Cajun Craze before. Pecan pie card base. Okay, losing my mind. And then we're going to have another piece of pecan pie. We're going to use a piece of basic white. And this one is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's the same size as the card front. This one is slightly smaller, so it's 1/4 of an inch smaller. So we've got 4 by 5 1/4. And this is what we're going to use for our insert, because I always do an insert. It just finishes the card off nicely. I'm going to have an envelope. We won't use that just yet. A scrap strip of crushed curry, and it's a 1/2 inch. We're going to use that. Let's see what else. Got a couple scraps of basic white to use. I've got my Gathering, now I have to look at the name of it. Gathering Together specialty designer series paper, and this is in a pretty plaid pattern, and hopefully you can see the gold lines there. They're really pretty, and just add a nice little gold fall touch. And then the back side is this early espresso, but we're going to be using this. I just simply cut a 4 1/4 by I think 4 1/4 square, and I just cut it down on an angle just so to follow the angle of the designer series paper in the sample in the catalog. So that's, I just cut that down. And so if you do a little bit of a bigger square, you could do the full size square. You could just cut it roughly in half, and then you would have 2, and then your angles would just be going the other way, and you can make 2 cards at the same time while you have everything out. So that's a good way to do that. And then we've got a piece of Cajun Craze, just a big square, 4 1/4 by 4. I just pulled it out of my scrap bag. And then just another strip of the designer series paper. So to get started, let me slide some of this stuff over to the side. Let's do our stamping that I'm going to need, and then when I pull out the die cutter, I'll do all of that at one time. Let's see, what are we going to do first? We are going to do the leaf, the big maple leaf, and we're going to do the acorn. And first, we're just going to do the acorn in crushed curry ink, just down in the center. And you know what? While we've got this out, we're going to do that. That's going to be our insert, remember? And slide that over. And then we're going to use pecan pie for the acorn. And I'm going to do 1 acorn on the piece of scrap paper. And then I'm going to do 1 acorn on the corner of my envelope, because we always say no naked envelopes, right? Alrighty. And another product that I'm pulling in here that is not part of the suite, but it is part of the, it's in the Traditions of Christmas set of products in the mini catalog, are the traditional labels dies, and they're good for all year round. Don't just get stuck on these for Christmas. This is probably going to be a die set that stays in my collection even after it's retired, just because it's classic, and the labels, and you can put all kinds of words in the big banner piece. And it's nice to have some label dies that layer, so you can kind of stack them up on each other. I pull in my trusty Big Shot, long retired from Stampin' Up, but it still does the job, and I'm going to keep using it until I can't anymore, and then I'll buy a Stampin' Cut and Emboss. But for now, we're going to emboss the full panel of Pecan Pie with the Gathering Leaves embossing folder. And now all of the Gathering Together suite products are online exclusive. So you're not going to find these in the catalog, either of the catalogs, either the annual catalog or the mini catalog. So if you want to look at all of those products a little bit closer, you're going to have to check those out online, and you can find all those on my online store. I'm going to put this platform aside and then get my cutting plates. And we are going to use this label die, again from the traditional labels. We are going to use the, let's see, where are, set everything aside and put it so far away I couldn't find it. We use that one, and then we're going to use the acorn. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the weather in Richmond has gotten a little bit cooler the last few days. We had my son's soccer game on Saturday, and it was right after a rainstorm had gone through. So it was like super humid. It wasn't really that hot, but it was super humid. We were just sitting there just sticky, and you could like almost see the air. It was so thick with humidity. And then on Sunday, it was rainy, but it was cooler. It was like in the lower 60s. And it was quite the change from the day before, with how it felt. And then it's just kind of been cool since. So it feels definitely more like fall than it has been, even though I know the calendar says September, which I always think that's kind of fall, but it's not officially fall until what, the 21st? So we're gonna pop these all out, toss those away, and pop out. How pretty is that label? It's a really pretty shape. And again, like I said before, you can layer the different ones together. And we're gonna set that aside. Let me get this big thing out of here. And then now we can start putting things together. Oh, actually, one more thing to die cut. I almost forgot. A main element. I would have gotten to that part and been like, what are we doing? So we are going to use our Cajun Craze and our Maple Leaf die. So we've got the big outline. Just put that on. And then we've got this insert, which cuts out the little tiny dots that make up the veins of the leaf. So we're going to do that all at one time. Just get it lined up as best we can. Try not to have it slide. I'm going to run that through, and the dots down the middle really make a nice detail. It keeps the leaf from looking super flat, and it just gives a nice look to it. There we go. Set that aside. All right, now we're done die cutting. And look, you can see the little detail there. All right, now we've got our embossed piece. And slide this over. I'm kind of running out of space. Refer back to the beginning when I said I was kind of running behind schedule because of the doctor's appointment. I didn't have everything quite laid out the way I would normally. All right. So those of you who have been watching the last couple weeks when I've been trying to make this an every week stamp today live event, you'll have to start leaving comments and letting me know what you want to see me make, because I don't know what you guys want to watch. I mean, I'm just making cards that I like to make, but if there's techniques or folds or something that you guys think you'd like to see, I can definitely learn how to make them myself if I don't know, and then show you guys how to do it in a live event, and then have the video that you could watch on replay when you try to make it at home. Just let me know. So we've done the embossed panel on the card front, and now we're going to put our angled piece of Designer Series paper. We're just going to line that up at the bottom. The glue is a little bit slippery. Let's see, what else do we have here? We are going to use our strip of crushed curry. And I did not measure this because I did not measure the angle. So I just took one that would go easily across the card front this way. And I'm just laying that across and adhering that. And then I'm just going to trim the ends. So that way you're not cut maybe a little bit short where you end up seeing where it ends without it covering the whole crossways. So I'm just going to trim that. And then I'm going to trim that one. And there we go. Now we're going to bring in our Cajun Craze leaf, and we're going to give it a little bit of detail. I know if you look at the sample online with these, they show some like baker's twine stitched, and I am not a sewer. I'll leave that to my mom. But I didn't think you'd want to watch me struggle on camera stitching thread through each of these holes. So we're going to do a little bit of like faux stitching maybe. So I've got my, let's see, my dark Cajun Craze Stampin' Blend marker. And I'm just going to connect the lines and the dots all the way down to kind of mimic the look of the veins of the leaf. And then we're just gonna do, hopefully you can see that my hand's not covering it too much. And this little one, so I'm just gonna go all the way down. Now, I'm probably gonna date myself when I ask this question, but how many of you all remember the faux stitching where we used to have like the templates where you could do the circles all the way around? You had like the squares, and then they even had like fancy ones for scallops to do like the faux stitching technique all the way around. I use the straight line ones all the time to make sure I didn't go crooked when I was doing that technique around like a die cut or even just a plain square box. But those were a really, really long time ago. They retired a long, long time ago. And if you see me, I keep turning it, and I always find it's easier to do the faux stitching if you've got circles you want to connect by pulling the marker towards myself. There we go. Can you see that? Hopefully you can kind of see that. The little bit of detail. It just adds a little something. So next we are going to just kind of put our pieces together and see. I've got some dimensionals here. Get some dimensionals around here where it won't cover up the holes, because you want to see really that through those little circles. No, I have to cut these down a little bit more. Trying to fit them in where we've got open space. Let's see, one more down here. And maybe we'll pull in some of the mini dimensionals just for the tips, just for support so things don't get bent over. Now, this is probably overkill, but I like having things supported all over when I'm putting on dimensionals. Pop these off. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, I think it's a big leaf, so it takes up a fair amount of room. There we go. And let's pull in our label. So we're going to stamp it. Let's see. I always need a lot of thank you cards, so I'm going to use the Many Thanks stamp from the Gathering Moments stamp set. And this is a nice mix of sentiments in this set as well as images. Now hopefully I'm going to try to get this one lined up without putting my head in. It's not too bad. And we are going to do some twine. Now this twine is gold and white, and it is part of another online exclusive set. It's black and white and gold, so you get a black roll also. And I like the gold in this because I wanted to pull in some more gold from the background paper. I'm going to use a piece of tear and tape adhesive in the back, and I am just going to, I left this ink pad open, I better close it before we have an accident. I'm just going to pull off a length. Let's see, that's probably enough. And trim that off, because we used to sell, I think it just recently retired, not very long ago. They bring it back, you know, every couple years or so. This gold, let's see where, if I can find it, I don't know where it went. It's like a gold thread, but we don't sell that anymore right now. So I wanted to just kind of stick with current products to show you on these, so then they're easy for you to recreate. So I'm just going to loop, just randomly loop different size loops across the back to give a little bit of just a little detail. Try not to make them all the same size, and you just press it down into the tear and tape, and that holds everything really together. And then you get the nice little messy looking loop, but you know, not super perfect, but you know, a little bit more organic. And I am going to put this, I'm going to put some dimensionals across the bottom. And then a little bit of glue up at the top, so I don't create a double bump, because I'm going to put it right here. So if I were to put dimensionals up there, it would kind of make this be like a ramp and it wouldn't be even. So I like to even things out with the dimensionals, you know, to keep the dimensional layers at the same level. Now I'm going to tuck our little crushed curry oak leaf. I'm going to tuck him kind of right in there. And then I'm going to do the acorn. Right to the side. So I'm going to tuck that one. Oops, got a little bit of glue on my fingers. There we go, we've got that. And finally, for the card front, I'm going to add some of these, what do they call them? So the Cajun Craze and Gold Dots. It's super creative, but it's very descriptive, so you know what you're getting on them. I'm just going to choose a couple. We're going to use the big one, and then maybe a small one down here. And I think that'll be good. So that pulls some of the crushed curry down here and kind of draws your eye across the elements. And that's the front. And now for the inside, super easy. We've got our stamped image and the strip. I think it's an inch wide, about an inch wide, maybe 3/4, 7/8, roughly around there. And I'm just going to do it right up against where we've got, oops, the leaf. And like I did on the front with the crushed curry strip, I'm just gonna trim that one off. And then you've got a little bit, you're pulling in elements from the front right into the inside of your card. Put this on the inside, we've got our insert. Get that straight. And let's see, we're gonna do my hand stamped on the back. This is a really fast video today because there's really no kind of crazy techniques. But I love the layout so much that I think once you make one with the layout, you can make a ton of different cards and really show the versatility of just changing, you know, your supplies out, and you could do the same sketch over and over and over, especially if you wanted to show off some designer series paper and you wanted to stretch that, because like I said, you can do a full front card panel and then just cut it on the diagonal across, and then you end up having two with the angle going the other way, and you would just, you know, build the card kind of opposite. But it's a really pretty fall set if you don't have a good set with leaves and the nice big dies. You could even use this on a card. Let's show you on the back so you can see how big that is, how big that covers. This is a great leaf. The big leaves are great for scrapbooking. They take up a lot of space, so they look really nice on a 12 by 12 layout. So you can layer those all. And the die set is great to use on its own or with the stamp set to make, you know, different color leaves. But I definitely want you to take a look online exclusives at the Gathering Together suite, and I hope you'll use this layout and tag me in it if you use it. Did you stamp today? Amanda Mertz, leave a comment on this card and tell me what you think. I guess that's it. Thanks so much for joining me this week, and I hope you get to stamp today. Take care.